For my grad presentation, I'm going to focus on the main theme of open and growth. Throughout the video, I'm going to focus on main events and specific moments in my life where I have really grown as a person. My family has been the center of my life. Anytime I need advice, comfort, or rude awakening about how life works, they're always there for me. My mom and dad have given me every opportunity in the world and have been incredible mentors for how I should live my life. While my sister and I aren't that close, she has always been there for me and I've always been there for her. My parents sent me and my sister to St. Greg's Middle School from kindergarten to 8th grade. St. Greg's is a private Catholic middle school that is known for its academics and the Catholic faith element of the school. At St. Greg's, we went to Mass every week, had religion class every day, and prayed before almost everything. Here, I pretty much played every sporting club the school offered, such as volleyball, soccer, basketball, cross country, ski club, and science olympiad. While doing this, I became friends with most of the guys at St. Greg's, but I became close friends with 6 or 7 guys, and to this day, they are still in my inner circle of friends. St. Greg's largely shaped who I am as a person because the school shapes the students and makes us more mature. However, outside of my friend group up until around 8th grade, I was incredibly shy and only comfortable talking to people I knew. At the time, I didn't understand that I needed to extrovert, but looking back now, I could see how much of a liability that characteristic had on me. I achieved very high grades at St. Greg's while making the honor roll every trimester. However, St. Greg's was a breeze to me. I rarely studied for anything and did all my homework in class. This was a bad thing because I never learned how to work hard, and when faced with the challenge, I didn't know what to do. Once 8th grade came around, everyone started to talk about where they were planning on going to high school, and almost every guy said they wanted to go to St. Joe's. Me and 3 or 4 other guys in the class were the only ones who wanted to go to Canisius, and that scared me because I've only known my middle school friends, and it seemed like they were going to vanish from my life. However, once everyone shadowed St. Joe's and Canisius, almost everyone decided that Canisius was where they wanted to go. I was relieved. This was the first moment that I realized I needed to branch out of my comfort zone and grow into a more mature person. Freshman year, I was overwhelmed by Canisius and what it had to offer. I remember very vividly walking through the blue doors and seeing all of the faculty and seniors clapping for us as we walked into the yard. At this moment, I realized that this was something completely different from middle school. I had been fed with a silver spoon most of my life, and it inhibited my ability to grow. I never been faced with real challenges, but I knew that Canisius was going to be completely different from the moment I walked in on the first day of school. Mr. Group was my freshman religion teacher, and he had a huge impact on me. One of the first things he said to us was, "If you shake my hand at graduation and say to me that you began to open your mind and begin thinking about your faith, then I will be satisfied." At the time, I thought, okay, whatever. That won't happen because my faith has always taken a back seat in my life since 3rd or 4th grade. I always went through the motions and never put any thought into my faith. My family, but my mom specifically, was always very religious, which was the main reason I actually went to a Catholic middle school. I only went to Mass to keep my mom happy and because I would get in trouble if I ever complained about going to Mass. Looking back now, I realize how much St. Greg's, in a way, put my faith on autopilot. I never questioned my faith because we would get in trouble in school if we did. We prayed before every little event, we wrote in our journals about what happened during the homily at Mass, and we were encouraged to love God more than anything. I remember one specific thing that my teacher, Mrs. Dennis, said to us, which was, "You should love God more than anything, even your parents." In my mind, and I'm pretty sure everybody else's mind, was, are you kidding me? I don't even know if God actually exists, and you want me to love him more than my parents do? This was one moment where I actually began to question my faith, because I was being taught to love a God that I don't even know exists, or I've never met, one of the 2 people who have done nothing but loved and cared for me. This one other event that might happened in lunch was when I was sitting with my friend Roman, and he said that he views faith as a way of life, not actually you praising a God. And I completely agree with him, and to this day, that is how I plan to live my life. This is one of the first moments where I began to really think about my faith and the role God had in my life. Going back to Mr. Group's class, once he began talking about the different types of religious beliefs, such as atheism, being agnostic, and polytheism, I began realizing that the religion I learned growing up may not be true. If there are hundreds of religions around the globe, How do I know which one is true and if mine is true? I was also shocked when I heard that Noah's Ark was not scientifically possible, that there was no evidence of a massive flood that occurred. Canisius, but specifically Mr. Group's class, opened my mind to religion and how it should play a role in my life. From 10th grade up until today, faith to me is a way of life. I want to strive to mirror my life around the person that Jesus was, even though I don't necessarily pray to him. In ninth grade, my friend's mom convinced me to run indoor track because it was something to keep me in shape. She made it sound like it would be something that would have practice a couple times a week, and each practice would be short. However, on my first day, I almost puked. I didn't realize how much harder school sports was than a 45-minute middle school volleyball practice. On the first day of practice, we ran and did sprints for an hour and a half, and it killed me. After the last sprint, I was relieved because I thought I was going home. Well, that wasn't the case. We then ran back to the school and worked out for an hour. That was the first experience where I was truly challenged at Canisius, and maybe in my life. We practiced like every other high school sport 5 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day, and we had meets every other weekend. After the first day, I came home and said to myself, I'm never going to do this again. However, my dad said to me, you can't quit on your first day, or any day for that matter, and that I had to finish the first season. This was another moment in my life where I look back and I realized how I accepted that I needed to challenge myself in order to grow. After indoor track season ended, I stopped getting involved in Canisius for almost all of freshman year, besides the sports games and date dance. I didn't even think twice about it not getting involved because I loved going home and playing video games the rest of the day. Sophomore year was definitely my worst year at Canisius. My GPA dropped 5 points. I was only in one club, which was the debate team, and I overall wasn't that happy. I stopped caring about school and life almost entirely and did the bare minimum in order to get by. I remember my mom saying to me almost every day after school, you need to get out of the 235 club and get involved. I didn't care about what she said at all. Even my Emma's retreat didn't shift my perspective at all like it has for a lot of people. To put it simply, I wasted all of sophomore year and didn't care. Looking back, I regret almost everything I did sophomore year because I can't pinpoint one significant event that really helped grow me as a person or that was just overall awesome. However, on my college retreat, one of the counselors was giving a speech and he told a story about him going on an immersion trip and how one of the people he met in Nicaragua worked 12 hours a day doing manual labor and never complained. After hearing that, something clicked with me. I realized that I wasted every opportunity that Canisius and life had to offer me. Going on the college retreat was the best decision I've ever made because it was a slap in the face to me, and I realized that I needed to grow up and take advantage of the opportunities life had to offer me. Junior year ended up being my best year at Canisius up until senior year. I boosted my average 6 points, but what I really noticed was how much I grew as a person. I became much more confident in myself and stopped caring about how others perceived me. I was always a really shy kid and insecure in middle school. I always stayed in my bubble of friends, never extroverted. But once I began taking advantage of opportunities in junior year, such as joining more clubs, talking to more people, and getting better at golf, I became much happier and a much mature person. A very good example of this is how I tried out for the golf team 4 years in a row and missed it freshman and sophomore year because I didn't try at all to improve myself and improve my game. Junior year, I improved significantly, but I missed the cut by a few strokes. However, senior year, I made the team and shot the 6th lowest score in tryouts because of all the hard work I put in over the summer. Looking back, I realized that going out of your comfort zone, working hard, and taking advantage of opportunities is the only way to mature. You can't grow if you don't allow yourself to, and I'm thankful that my college retreat helped me realize that. Going forward, I'm committed to taking advantage of all the opportunities life throws at me. I've wasted way too much time at Canisius and plan to finish strong up until graduation, in college, and in my career. After completing my grad assignment and after many hours of reflection, I've realized how being an introvert and not taking advantage of opportunities will keep you running in place. It was only until I was open to growth junior and senior year that I made the golf team, was a volunteer coordinator for Paint the Village Pink for 3 years, raised my GPA to a 93, had a new outlook on my faith, and got into my dream colleges. As for college, I'm not 100% sure where I want to go to school, but I'm most likely going to study in Florence, Italy, and London for my first year, and Florida State if I end up going there. The old me, who was way too shy, insecure, and afraid of getting out of his bubble, would have never taken this opportunity. I also want to think more about my faith and how it should play a role in my life. I've realized that I want to become more involved in philanthropic works and throughout my career because that's what God would do if He were me. I also want to thank Doc for mentoring me through this process and helping me reflect on my life so far.